What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Redefining Issued Equipment. And in this video we're going to be talking about how you can set up the KDH plate carrier or the soldier plate carrier system for that Grenadier position, or for the guys that are running a 40mm or similar platform. With that, we're going to echo just a couple of things when it comes to the general purpose and setup of this plate carrier, just to reiterate the important parts of it. And then we're going to dive more into the details of the pouches that we've selected to put on this plate carrier, as well as some of the other pouches that are available on the market for you. So that way you can pick and choose what's going to be best for you. And then from there, we'll talk about how we've set up these pouches on the plate carrier, why we have some on the front, why we have some on the back to help distribute some of the weight of those rounds, and then how you can actually set up a couple of rounds on a pistol belt or war belt, so then that way as a whole the system is working a little bit more for you rather than against you, since those rounds can add up in weight if you're carrying a lot of them. So with that, jumping up to the top of the plate carrier here, we have a small Petzl admin light. This is going to be a low output light that's going to produce white and red light. And then beneath that we have an admin pouch for ATAC, call for fire stuff if you need it, map data, and or any dope or data that you've collected from training for that 40mm platform, so that way you can help walk rounds onto target in the event that those engagements are pretty far out there when it comes to the range of those engagements. So with that, we do recommend running a small low profile admin pouch for the system. It's just going to help you out, in addition to being able to carry any other mission essential information that you may need for your operation. Beneath that, we have a couple of cleaning rod sections just to be able to punch out any ruptured casings, or unfortunately, we just found out not too long ago that there have been lots of the M855 Alpha 1, or that new EPR round, that have actually had some squibs in them. So they've recalled a couple of lots because of that. So that's something to keep an eye out. Those rounds can squib inside of your gun, even though they are a pretty hot round. So just keep that in mind. Having those cleaning rod sections is going to help remove that dirt, debris, and or a ruptured casing or round that's stuck in your barrel to help keep your gun in the fight. So just keep that in mind. You're definitely going to want those cleaning rod sections to help out with all of that. From there, beneath that, we do have a Tactical Tailor triple mag fight light pouch. We prefer running this pouch on this plate carrier just because of the way that the MOLLE is set up. If you run the issued pouches, you tend to have either the pouch drift to the left or to the right because of the way that the MOLLE is set up on the actual pouch. It doesn't line up perfectly with how the MOLLE on the plate carrier is set up. So we do recommend running an aftermarket. That way you can keep everything centered on the body rather than drifted left or to the right, or offset to the left or to the right. In addition to that, I know, at least for me, when I spent time in the 173rd, a lot of the Grenadiers were actually team leaders and sometimes squad leaders. So having a push-to-talk with a radio pouch to be able to run radio can be important. If you're in a unit that doesn't have Grenadiers in leadership positions, it's good to have that set up on there, so that way as you progress through your career, you have that radio pouch and radio setup available to you. And or in the unfortunate event one of your guys goes down, you can pick up that radio and you can continue to fight and lead and all that. So we do highly recommend that when it comes down to it, which kind of bridges into the cummerbund portion. But from there, at the bottom here, we have a tourniquet just centered on the bottom of the plate carrier. That's why you can rapidly employ that tourniquet in the event you sustain an injury. So it kind of leads into that self-aid, buddy aid, and then higher level of care from that T-Tri-C concept. So having that up front here in an ambidextrous position is just going to help you out when it comes down to it. So with that kind of sums up the general purpose aspect of it. We're going to dive more into the 40mm portion, as it's going to kind of wrap all the way around the front of the plate carrier, the cummerbund, and the back of the plate bag and zipper panels that you can attach to it. So with that, these are the Eagle Industries 40mm grenade pouches. You can also go with Blue Force Gear, Longship Designs. Their flashbang pouch is actually a really good option for 40mm grenades as well. So there are a couple of companies out there that are producing Grenadier or 40mm pouches, among many others. So just keep an eye out, figure out what's going to work best for you. One of the reasons why I really like the Eagle Industry ones is they've got a little bit of space, so they're not completely like stacked up on top of each other to where they won't properly fit inside of the mag or the grenade pouch itself. So I would recommend, if you can still find these, jump on them. A really good alternative, like I said, is going to be the Blue Force gear and or the long ship designs. The nice thing about the long ship designs, which is another pretty good pouch for a lot of different things, you can run flashbangs in them. They're very adjustable, so you do have a lot of options with them, with top flaps and shot cord to help retain the rounds and all that, in conjunction with the elastic that's on those pouches. So with that, just take that information for what it is, figure out what's going to be the best pouch for you. If you can't find these, I would definitely go with probably the long ship, and then if you can't find the long ship, go with the Blue Force gear or an alternative pouch from there. But up front we've got 4, so that way it kind of keeps the front of the plate carrier low profile, nice and streamlined. You're not going to have rounds protruding too far off your kit, and it's going to help still allow you to get into a good prone position, get behind cover and concealment and all of that. You don't want to start stacking these rounds to where it's not going to enable you to shoot, move, and communicate and all of that and get behind cover and concealment. So we've got 4 up front, and then from there we also have 2 on either side of the cummerbund, so that way in total you can run 8 pretty much on the front of your plate carrier. There still is a little bit of space on either side of the cummerbund, so you can run additional 40mm pouches if you want to, or you can substitute for other types of general purpose pouches, which you may need when it comes to running that platform and maintaining it and all that. So I'll leave that extra portion of cummerbund space up to you, but just food for thought when it comes down to it, so that way you're setting yourself up for success. In addition to that, before we move to the back, if you're going to run any type of comm setup, I would recommend hair tying all of your cables and everything to the plate carrier. Hair ties are going to do better in that hot environment. They're not going to get as dirty, they're not going to fray and then break on you, and then they're super cheap to replace when they do break. So I would recommend doing that. Just helps kind of keep everything nice and tight and in an organized manner. Now on the back of the plate carrier here, just real briefly, like the other setups, if you're running a radio, running a body whip or an antenna relocation system to the back of the plate carrier is a good idea. You don't need any special pouches. You can just run hair ties to help retain your cables and antenna. It will save you a little bit of money there. For these zipper panels, we've used the Cry Precision zipper panel attachment pieces, so that way you can add zipper panels to your plate carrier. And we also have some tubular nylon here for all of your medical stuff, for self-aid, buddy aid, dragging somebody out of a bad situation, getting them behind cover and concealment, so that way you can provide that either self-aid, buddy aid, and or get that medic and that higher level of medical care to that individual. So with that, it kind of sums up the general purpose pouch. So kind of diving back into the 40mm portion, we do have 2 double 40mm pouches on the back of the plate carrier. This does kind of help pull the plate carrier back more onto your shoulders and evens out and distributes the weight of the plate carrier because of how much weight's going to be on the front. So this does help. You will need somebody to help you get those rounds out in the event that you need them, but it does help when it comes to distributing that weight and not having like all that weight up into your neck and shoulders. It just helps kind of pull everything back. And in addition to that, we would recommend running some sort of general purpose pouch on the bottom of the plate carrier rear plate bag or zipper panel. That way if you want to run additional rounds in here, you can. This would be a great place to be able to run all of your specialty rounds, to include smoke, flares, star clusters, whatever else may be out there, CS gas, all that. You can run all of those inside of this pouch, since these ones are a little bit more oriented towards your high explosive pouches. So it's a good place for those when it comes down to it. And then if you want to run any other mission essential equipment, you can definitely do that. When it comes to hydration, because I know some people are pretty big on that and running bladders, the nice thing about some of the Cry Precision or IDO gear zipper back panels is they do have a center pocket on the back panel, so you can run a hydration carrier inside of there. So in that way it keeps all of that MOLLE space open for the rounds that you're going to need to carry for your plate carrier itself. Now with that, I don't have a plate carrier or a gun belt set up with all of the pouches that you can run on a gun belt. or on a war belt, but we'll briefly talk about it with this blank one that we have here to kind of give you an idea. So, front of the gun belt, we do have an extra tourniquet to be able to run all of our med stuff for that self-aid, buddy aid portion. And then from here, you have the rest of the belt to be able to run whatever you need. Now, most of the Grenadiers that I've known have not ran a pistol, so you really don't need to worry about that. So this is where you can really kind of open things up to both your rifle mags as well as your grenades that you're going to want to carry with you. So I would recommend with that running a single or double mag pouch for your rifle. For most of the guys that I know that are running the Grenadier system, they're running 3 mags up front on the plate carrier, 1 on their gun belt or war belt, and then they have 1 in the gun. So they got 5 total, and then they'll offset the other 2 for that 7 mag basic combat load from more of the conventional side in a back panel or a double mag carrier that's on the back of the plate carrier, kind of hanging down from the zipper panel. So that's one way that you can definitely break down those 7 mags, but you can definitely offset just a few extra mags on the gun belt. I would be a little bit cautious about it though, because you're going to have what's called that midsection gap right here. You're going to want to have that gap kind of open and free of equipment, because if you have your mags protrude too high up on your gun belt, they're going to catch onto your cummerbund, and it's going to make it difficult to rotate left and right, which can inhibit or just make your movement a little bit more difficult and restricted. So just something to keep an eye out when it comes down to it. So if you do run rifle mags on your gun belt, I would run some sort of offset like the Safari Land mid-ride loop, and then a Kydex pouch for your rifle mag, so that way it drops it down, and then your rifle mag is going to sit roughly flush with the top of the gun belt or the war belt. And then from there, you have the rest of this space full of your grenade pouches, or the 40 millimeters that you're going to be running. I've seen guys leave the entire back of the gun belt completely open. Some guys will run a hanging or dangling med pouch on the back side, since you can't really run one on the front of the KDH or the soldier plate carrier system. So they leave this kind of open. Some guys will run 40 millimeters on the back, but a lot of guys kind of complain about how uncomfortable it can be inside of a vehicle. So typically they'll leave this kind of open, or just very small little pieces of equipment on there. And then roughly about the 4/5 o'clock position on the gun belt itself, or kind of off your hip, they'll start adding additional 40 millimeter pouches all the way to the front of the gun belt itself. So then that way you have, at least 6 rounds, probably, maybe 8 rounds depending on your body type or how big of a dude you are. But you'll have those additional rounds to be able to run on the side of the belt, or I would say the dominant side of the belt, so that way you have those additional rounds, which could plus you all the way up to roughly, I would say, we got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, roughly about 20 rounds if you don't run rounds inside of that general purpose pouch on the back of the plate carrier. So it gives you kind of a ballpark for where you can be sitting when it comes to rounds carried, outside of running rounds inside of that general purpose pouch. So just some food for thought when it comes down to it. It's definitely something you're going to have to play around with a little bit, figure out what's really comfortable for you. One thing when it comes to the gun belt setup too is make sure that the weight of your mags and the weight of your 40 millimeter rounds kind of evens out or balances, so that way you don't have one side drooping or hanging a little bit lower just because of the amount of weight that's going to be on the gun belt. Something you can also do is you can run suspenders on these gun belts, or you can run them on your pants. It's completely up to you, but you can also run those suspenders to help lift this belt up just a little bit off of your hips, and that will help with some of the weight. So if you want to run additional rounds on the gun belt and kind of lean towards having a heavy right side or heavy dominant side, you can definitely do that, and that will help with distributing the weight and keeping the belt up on your hips and all that. So there's a couple of ideas when it comes down to it. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free and leave a comment. We will help you out in any way that we can with these setups. And with that, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.